So I think I'm kind of breaking all of the cardinal rules of planting tomatoes right now and peppers because I'm not going to pull off the fruit. Let me see if I can show you. So this is that mini San Marzano, and you can see it has little tiny fruit on it. Now, San Marzanos are one of my favorite tomatoes of all time. So here's kind of what it looks like from a distance. Now, San Marzanos are one of my favorite tomatoes of all time. They're the first tomato I ever grew successfully, and they're a great tomato for canning. I really love them as a paste tomato, or you can use them as pretty much anything. I just think they're an overall just the perfect tomato. So when I saw these mini tomatoes, I thought, okay, that is a great San Marzano cross. It's like a miniature San Marzano. It only gets a maximum of like 2 inches long, 2.5 inches maybe. And so I tried one of the fruit off this plant that I bought, and it was so sweet. And I just thought that would be so perfect. And usually, when I plant plants that already have fruit on them, I'll pick all the fruit and flowers off so they can develop roots. But honestly, I just need a win in the garden. We're not growing any of our own food right now since we just moved here. Literally, these plants in my garden are all that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave them be and see if the peppers and tomatoes grow okay. If they do, great. If not, I'll go ahead and pick all of these peppers off the Big Berthas and all these tomatoes off the little miniature San Marzanos. But honestly, I don't have to worry about producing a lot of food really quickly because we live in a climate where we're not going to get our first freeze until October, maybe later. So this is kind of a great start for us, and I know with it only being May now, we're going to have quite a few months of just really hot weather. And I think this area in the house has a good breeze. So one of these is on the front porch where it's protected from the intense sun, and one's back here on the back behind our house. And so there's such a good breeze here. It will really improve airflow on a lot of these. Now, if you notice, I'm planting like every other one. I planted 3 peppers. There's 6 on each tier of this Greenstalk. These are all the plants that I got from HEB, so they were all on sale. These tomatoes were 87 cents a piece, which is why it's worth taking the risk for me. And it'll just give me something to grow until we can figure out what we're going to do as far as an in-ground garden or raised beds or just anything. This property has not been used in over a year, which means there are a lot of pests, a lot of animals, a lot of wildlife. There's just a lot of everything going on. So until we figure out exactly how we're going to start everything, where we're going to put a garden, where we're going to put animals, I just thought this would be a good win. Now, the reason I did every other container was just in case. I don't know how big these plants are going to get, but I know with the intense Texas heat, as they fill up, airflow starts to become an issue, which is why my husband set this up here, and I thought originally I'd move it to the back, but it ended up being a really good place for airflow. There may not be enough sunshine during the day, so I may actually have to put the wheels on this Greenstalk, which I do have, and then drag it back over here into the sunlight. But for now, I planted them every other one. I thought about putting more peppers in here because peppers don't seem to mind being backed up, so I might. But I didn't want to put tomatoes next to tomatoes and then them vine down. You can see these, I've actually squished them down really far in there to cover a lot of the roots because these plants are just like this long and drooping over. So hopefully they'll develop a lot of roots, but I know these are more viney plants. They're not as upright as a traditional Marzano, and it may also just be that they were in containers for so long at HEB. They really should have been planted a long time ago. And you can see here's a third one. So again, following that every other pocket pattern. And what I did is in between these 2 pockets, I planted. So you can kind of see every other one's empty. And I do have some herbs that I might fill in, but again, the herbs I have are chocolate mint and 2 different types of basil. And that basil's gonna get really big, which I'll show you in just a minute, just how big the basil really is. In addition to these, I also have a different type of San Marzano cross. This one is, what is it? Marzito San Marzano. So it's a very tiny one. And this is a San Marzano and Roma cross. So it's going to be interesting because San Marzanos and Romas are similar in shape. The only difference is this one seems to be more pointed than the Roma is. So I am curious exactly how it is going to grow and develop. I've been breaking the roots up just a little bit at the bottom. Some of these are really nice and moist, and some of them are very dried out. So it's just really going to depend on that. And then I'm just going to go in between the filled pocket and the empty pocket on this one again and dig way down into my Greenstalk and plant this as close to the bottom as I can get it. That way I can cover up as much as the stem as possible and get a really good root system, because the nutrients that these plants are going to get are ones that I'm going to give them. Ooh, actually, this is a strawberry plant that never came up, and I thought that it was going to be dead, but it looks like the roots might actually be coming back, which is crazy. Because we planted these like 3 months ago and nothing ever came from it, and now it's so hot. I'm gonna leave the roots in here with the tomato in case it starts coming back, but honestly, this time of year strawberries don't do well here. They pretty much already stopped producing fruit if they started, so here we go. That one's pretty well in there. I'm keeping the little HED tags I got. So this San Marzano Roma heirloom tomato, it says large, plump, delicious 4 to 5 ounce plum tomatoes, rich, complex flavor and strong aroma, a favorite for sauces and canning. So it's very interesting. I'm just gonna put that in there. And then I'm confused, is this the San Marzano Roma cross, or are they just calling the San Marzano tomato a Roma? Never heard it called that. So, interesting to me. I need to, I'm gonna come back and probably add some more soil to top this off because it's just not as full as I would like it to be, honestly. Add some more right there. And let's see, this one is, these are big brandy tomatoes. It says it's an heirloom marriage type tomato. It is a pink beefsteak type that is a cross of a big dwarf and a brandywine. It's supposed to produce 12 to 15 ounce fruits and have great flavor with fewer blemishes. So, just another reddish pink tomato. And I am curious how these will do. I have grown like brandywine tomatoes and big brandy tomatoes. I've never grown this particular cross before, and honestly I've never heard of it, but when I saw that the tomatoes were 87 cents, I was like, oh, I need to try some of these. And then I really looked through, they had a lot of lemon boys, but lemon boy plants get pretty big, and grown in the Greenstalk, I just didn't know how they would do. So I didn't want to plant any and then be disappointed if they were way too big and overpowering the other tomatoes, or if they didn't grow well. So that's why I kind of went with this, because I felt like they were safer options as far as plants go. And here is once again another strawberry plant. This one looks like the crown looks pretty rotten. On the strawberries, the kids just want to grow strawberries, so I bought a bunch of them from Lowe's, and well, they didn't do well. I've grown a bunch of strawberries at a previous house, and they came up very well and thrived until the weather started to get warm. So we probably just got a bad bunch. Okay, so there's that. Ahead, these bigger plants were actually $3.97, so $4 a piece. I got some of those because they could break the roots up into several plants on these two basil, and also I know that I want to transplant these when I finally do figure out a garden space for them. I just don't know when that's going to be. And then I did pay a little bit more for this sun sugar tomato. Attractive golden yellow color. It's extraordinary sweet flavor. Make this one perfect gourmet cherry tomato. Thin skin, tiny crack resistant fruit. So moving to a hotter climate where the rain's a little more unpredictable, but then it comes down really fast, I thought this would be a great option for us. And also all of these pots I'm getting, I'm actually going to use them because I have some seed starter and I'm going to start some seeds of my own. So instead of waiting, you like that basil? Oh, Rose, you're eating my basil. Girl, here, take a piece. Rotten baby. Rose might actually end up eating my whole basil plant if I'm not careful. She really likes that. That's that basil that I said earlier had like a strong cinnamon smell to it. So, ooh, I've already filled every other pocket on these with tomatoes. So I guess on this tomato, I'm just gonna put it further down. The big brandies are I think less of a binding tomato than the San Marzano, miniature San Marzanos are. Like the miniature San Marzanos are already kind of binding and they're not upright. So I probably need supports for them because I imagine they are not determinate variety. Oops, I dropped one of the little tomatoes. Oh well. They are not a determinate variety, and so they're probably, the plant's probably going to grow indefinitely as long as we have warm weather. So I know they're going to need a lot more space, whereas this one is not going to need as much space. And I don't know how it'll do, but I'm actually going to take this cutting from that and just plant it here because it broke off. Okay, so let's see. Here's a home sliced tomato. I'm just gonna put it, I guess, right here. At this point, I don't think it really matters. I do need to put this. You know what? I'm just gonna throw that out. That way we just go ahead and keep up the pattern. So this home sliced tomato. Oh, my nose is itchy. My hair's touching my face. I've never heard of pest insect trying to get my plants already. Home sliced tomato. It says vigorous and early with heavy yields of 5 to 6 ounce fruits, determinate, perfect for container growing. So, with that being said, I hope it is as perfect as it says it is for containers. It just looks like a nice uniform red tomato, honestly, which kind of works out for what I was looking for. Just some good sized fruit that can get us going with our own tomatoes and really get us back into the swing of gardening and growing our own food again. Because at the previous house, as you guys know, I was growing so much food on such a very small plot of land, and we did so successfully. I mean, gallons and gallons of berries, a lot of other things. So I'm just trying to get back in the swing of things to encourage myself to really focus on starting a garden. It's really hard sometimes when you're just starting over completely, especially after a big move. There's so much going on and so much to do. So why usually I get so impatient waiting for my plants to establish. Sorry, I have hair all in my face. It's made my face so itchy. So usually I have a hard time waiting for my plants to establish. You know, I want to go pick something, I have to plant some radishes or something that just grows really fast and produces a lot of food in a short period of time. But we aren't even in the house yet because it had been so long since someone lived in there, and it was a older couple that had previously owned the house. We ended up buying our house out of an estate sale. So there was just a lot to be done. Maintenance wise, it was actually, they kept it in such a beautiful condition. So it was really just a lot of deep cleaning from it sitting, clearing out spiders and even scorpions, which, whew, that was a new one for me. We saw, man, probably 10, 12 scorpions at this point. I've seen 5 or 6 myself that I've had to get rid of. It's freaking me out. We actually just went ahead and exterminated because I was just like, look, the boys can kind of move away if they see something like there, but scorpions, and they'll get in your clothes, they'll do all kinds of things. And with our daughter being a wheelchair user, I just really couldn't risk them getting into the cushions of her wheelchair or stinging her. That would be terrifying. She wouldn't be able to get out of bed to come tell us yet. So it's just something, like, if it happened in the middle of the night when I was asleep, it would scare me really badly. So I didn't want to risk that. So I thought, let's just exterminate and we'll stay in the camper a little bit longer. We actually have the camper right here. That's what the phone's sitting on, butted up to the house. So that's kind of what's going on. But at least this will get me in the swing of things. And while I'm unpacking the house and doing a deep clean and dusting, getting rid of spider webs, and we've seen plenty of house spiders, we've seen wolf spiders, all sorts of spiders. There's brown recluse in the shed. So while we're getting it ready to live in, moving stuff in, unpacking, and I'm so busy doing that, that'll give these plants time to really come into maturity. And it's kind of like doing one thing and waiting. So instead of just waiting here idly, I'm still focusing on something else. So it made sense to come out here, get everything planted. That way I can do other stuff while I'm kind of waiting for these to start producing fruit and really ripening and growing. And same goes for these herbs. It'll give them time to really take off and start growing. And so the cool thing about this is some of these broke. I showed that in an earlier video. And so all I'm doing is taking the stems and the pieces that are broke and replanting them. There are multiple stems on this plant, and so I can get multiple plants. I'm not worried about them overcrowding the tomatoes or peppers, because I know without a shadow of a doubt I'm actually going to come in and transplant a lot of this basil into a garden bed where it can just completely take over indefinitely for years to come. Because I love being from south of Houston, really near Baytown on the bay, means that I'm able to grow things as perennials. A lot of stuff, even bananas, come back as perennial plants. They just pop up every year, and I love that. So I'm so used to that. That's how I love to grow things, with as little effort as possible. If they can self-propagate and just come back over and over again, that's my favorite part of gardening, to plant once and then harvest for years to come. So that's kind of my plan with the basil. I would love a big basil garden because we never have enough basil. We use basil in everything. I love adding it to lemonade. We made this blueberry lemonade. One year we managed to grow blueberries, and we made a blueberry and a blackberry lemonade, and it was so good. And usually I don't think that blueberries go well with lemon, but for blueberry lemon cake and then the lemonade, it was really good. And so that's kind of what I've decided.